Now, fasten your seatbelt for the FIA World Rally Championship. With Ford. And Valvoline, driving the world.
Barely 50 days since the climax to the 2000 World Rally Championship, the 2001 season blasts off in Monte Carlo, home to the most famous rally in the world. This year, the Monte is 90 years old. The initial challenge was just to get to Monte Carlo in the first place. Then there were even points for driving the most stylish car. Now there are points only for the fastest cars and drivers. Still on the agenda, though, a rally challenge like no other in Europe. Until a few years ago, the cars left cities all over the continent for a marathon concentration run to Monte. The drivers even had to take wakey-wakey pills to keep them from nodding off. Now, as then, it's the mountains where the Monte Carlo rally is held, and there the weather can change in a split second. Picking the right tyres for the job, though, is half the battle. In the valleys, the roads are often dry and clean, with maximum grip from slick tyres. Then it can turn to ice, where only studded tyres dare to tread, and full snow. That's the sort of stuff which separates the men from the boys, and for the last 2 years has given Finland's Tommi Mäkinen the edge. This year, he's looking for the hat-trick.
Of course, it's our target. That's why we are here, and we always try to win wherever we are.
Mäkinen's opposition is fierce. Wearing number 1 for the first time since taking the 2000 title 7 weeks ago is Markus Grönholm. He's number 1 on the Monte. Also in Peugeot, Gilles Panizzi and Didier Auriol, many times a winner here. Ford will be Peugeot's closest challengers. They've got Carlos Sainz, winner of the most world rallies. And the 1995 world champion Colin McRae, never a winner here, but always lightning quick. 4 months after crashing in Corsica, the Scot is only just back to full fitness. And for 2001, Ford have taken on board Peugeot refugee Francois Delacour, who won here 7 years ago. Subaru have a new Impreza for 2001 and a new lineup. Their new boys, wild child Petter Solberg and Marco Martin. But Richard Burns is the star in the team, twice runner-up in the last 2 championships. Of the rest of the teams, there's the Hyundai drivers, Piero Leati, Alistair McRae and Kenneth Eriksson. Celebrating a century of motorsport, the Skoda team, headed by Germany's Armin Schwartz. And the newest team in the world's fastest growing motorsport, Citroën, joining the rest of the teams at the season launch in the world's most glamorous principality. The stage is set for what promises to be the closest championship ever. The 69th running of the Monte, 3 days and almost 400 kilometres of the most unpredictable for the first time. Markus Grönholm was first off the ramp outside the Monte Carlo casino. But within sight of the snow on the Alps, the first retirement from the rally. Estonia's Marco Martin didn't even make it to stage 1. Electrical failure, stranding his Subaru in the middle of the road. Throughout testing in the weeks over Christmas, the stages were bone dry. Not now. Heavy snow's been falling all week. In theory, perfect conditions for Finland's Markus Grönholm. Sainz has won here 3 times in all sorts of conditions. Even though Colin McRae is regarded as the fastest driver in the world, he's never got to grips with the Monte. First on the road was not good news for Grunholm. A base of ice and a surface of slush left him clearing the road for the cars behind. On stage 1, he was only 11th fastest. But by stage 2, he had bigger worries.
Huomio vasemmalle oikein nopea 3. Mikä nyt tapahtui? En mä tiedä, vedenlämpötila 103. Kone hajosi.
The Peugeot was overheating, and badly.
Hajos? Joo. Vedenlämpöt 103, kyllä tuota boosti pois.
Otin jo. Mä tuon ylämäkeen, et se ei kulje.
No such problems for the other Peugeots. Didier Auriol was second fastest on stage 1 and was leading after stage 2. Gilles Panizzi was 5th after stage 2, slowed after whacking the back of his car and bending the axle. Richard Burns lost over a minute on the first 52 kilometres. Bad tyre choice and not enough aggression, or so he said.
Fast left, minus long 40, slow medium right 50, medium left and medium left 40, medium right tightens to flat right 20, easy left in tightens.
Petter Solberg, though, was bursting with aggression. He was 3rd overall. Like Grunholm and Burns, the Fords were suffering by running through the thick snow and slush. Sainz was out of the top 10 on both the first 2 stages. Colin McRae was coping a bit better. He was 8th after stage 2. His co-driver is Nicky Grist.
And 4 left and right, don't cut in. 4 left minus, 4 right minus line, don't cut. 30, 4 right opens, long.
Feathering the throttle, fighting for grip. Tommy Mäkinen was 7th overall after stage 2, but a puncture prevented him from climbing any higher. The surprise of the first morning, the speed of the new Skoda Octavia driven by Armin Schwartz. He was 5th on stage 1 and 6th overall after stage 2. Not so fast, though, his teammate Bruno Thierry. Hyundai signed Piero Liatti over the winter, and the Italian was 4th quickest on stage 1 before retiring with engine problems before the start of stage 2. Alistair McRae was also charging in the other Hyundai. The Scot was 10th on stage 1. Passed up by Ford for Francois Delacour in the off-season musical chairs, Finland's Tony Gardemeister grabbed a chance to drive a private Peugeot in Monte Carlo. He was quickest on the first stage, but a puncture then slowed him on stage 2. Somehow Marcus Grunholm made it to the end of stage 2, but his Peugeot was in bad shape.
Water temperature, all the lights.
Marcus, a disappointing end to the rally for you, and very early.
Yes, well, what can we do? We had a problem with the water pump in the engine, and it's finito now.
How did that show itself, manifest itself when you were driving, the problem with the water pump?
Yeah, it was on stage 2, maybe after.
Stage 3 was a rerun of stage 1, and the clean road helped Carlo Sainz finally edge into the top 10. But the Spaniard was not looking like a man capable of scoring his 4th Monte win. McRae was going even better. He was 3rd fastest on stage 3 and up to 3rd overall. The Scot is one of the bravest drivers in the championship, a necessity when the road drops off 200 metres, just centimetres from the wing mirror. Tommy Mäkinen was struggling to make up the time he lost on stage 2. He was 8th quickest on stage 3, but 4th overall, and only 7 seconds behind McRae. But Francois Delacour was the stage winner on 3, almost 10 seconds faster over the 22 kilometres of Rosqueron. He might have been dumped by Peugeot, but at Ford, he's been warmly welcomed back, and it shows. Panizzi, though, was looking skittish on stage 3. Halfway through the stage, he lost control completely. Amazingly, Panizzi climbed out, but his neck was clearly injured. His co-driver brother Hervé also looked in pain. Both were taken to hospital for a checkup, but given the all clear. Peter Solberg's speed continued to amaze. His driving style fast and furious, slowed only by tyre trouble.
Line into 2 left minus, keep in, 30. Short 5 right. Puncture on the left side.
Yeah. Freddie Leutz in the second Mitsubishi was 9th overall after stage 3. And 7th was Armin Schwartz in the new Skoda. Alistair McRae was grinning like a Cheshire cat, pleased to be in the top 10 in the remaining Hyundai. Didier Auriol had opened a 20-second lead from Solberg in his first drive for Peugeot. The Frenchman said he could win the rally, and he was looking good until he clonked a rock at the end of stage 3, ripping a wheel off.
Didier, end of stage 3, you obviously have a problem.
Yeah, really the last tightened corner of the stage. Okay, it was more slippery, I don't know, and just the car sideways a little bit too much on the back. We touched Monte, and the wheel was gone suddenly, and okay, no possibility to repair.
Suddenly, all 3 Peugeots were out for a second year in a row.
This morning you were leading, and now all 3 of your drivers are out.
Last year we have been ridiculous.
That suited Richard Burns perfectly. He was second fastest and jumped into the points. He now looked much more at home, taking a leaf out of Solberg's book and attacking the twisty stages. Carlos Sainz often goes better in the afternoon. Today was no exception. Like Burns, he seemed to revel in the drier conditions. He was 4th on stage 4, 4th overall. The sweat on his brow showed his commitment. Fastest, though, on stage 4, on Trevaux, was Colin McRae. With the Peugeots gone, he knew he had a chance at his first win on the Monte. Francois Delacour was again on the pace. There's nothing more he likes than flinging a car around the stomach-churning bends. But a puncture on stage 4 annihilated his hopes of another stage win.
Allez, on attaque. 75 mètres, allez, il y a du grip. Saute virée gauche 105, long, long, ferme 100. Gauche 105, long, long, ferme 100. 100 mètres. 100 mètres. Droite 125, long, long à fond. À 30 mètres, gauche 100.
Solberg was quickly pulling out a gap to Tommy Mäkinen. 10 seconds separated second and third place, with the day 2/3 over. Skoda had their car set up perfectly for the mountain stages. So often unable to show his true potential, Armin Schwartz was now relishing the limelight. Back in a Skoda after a year on the sidelines, Bruno Thierry was 10th on stage 4. The Czech team are now knocking on the door of World Rally stardom. Still kicking himself after losing the lead with a puncture, Gardemeister took out his frustration on the mountains. He clawed back enough time to win stage 4, 11th overall. Like Skoda, Hyundai have made huge advances during the short winter break. Oozing with grip, the accent of Alistair McRae was 10th and not far off Schwartz. Big brother Colin rolled into St Andre, the leader.
An amazing first day, 5 of the works cars out. Are you fairly happy with the way things are going?
And finally into the frame, Carlos Sainz, 6th, a lacklustre Burns. 5 was Copse Castellane, 20 kilometres long and almost clean tarmac. The cars were now on slick tyres. Burns dropped time on the stage, but the problems elsewhere meant he was still 4th overall. Sainz was just 6 seconds off winning the stage. 2nd was enough to lift him to 3rd overall. Amazing for a driver who was out of the top 15 after stage 1. Sparks flew as the Ford bottomed out on the tarmac. The car was set up like a Formula One machine more than a rally car. There were fireworks too for Tommy Mäkinen. He beat Sainz on stage 5 and had clawed his way up the field and was now just 13 seconds behind Colin McRae. For the second stage in a row, François Delacour was slipping backwards. Again, a puncture was to blame. In as many stages, he'd lost 2 places. But stage 5 claimed the hard-charging Solberg.
40. John 3 left. 50. Flat, John 4 left. Make a flat.
Colin McRae started Klumank looking invincible, but last year a podium place looked his right until the final stage. Sainz, though, was fastest over the 14 kilometres. McRae took no risks. He was 4th fastest, relying almost instinctively to weave his way through the S-bend.
And 6 right, 120. 4 right plus, don't cut. Into block 4 left. And 6 left and 5 right plus. And left over crest and 4 right minus narrows.
Brake discs glowing, Mäkinen looked as if he might be able to pass McRae for the lead, but the Finn lost 17 seconds in the dark. Tyres were the problem. His teammate Freddie Loix didn't fare much better.
Colin, 30 seconds ahead of your nearest rival on day 1. You must be quite pleased.
Freddie Loix is 2nd. 2 kilometres of Terrier meant being first on the road for Colin McRae. Unlike day 1, though, the first stage on day 2 was relatively clear, giving the drivers a level playing field. History was hanging over McRae. No Briton has won the Monte for 33 years. Patches of snow higher up the mountain slowed McRae a little, but he was still out on a slick tyre fitted with studs. As they hit the snow, Nicky Grist's pace notes slowed to match the speed of the car.
30 right and slow 3 left. And 2 right plus opens, ice.
Hot on the Scots' heels, Tommy Mäkinen. History was on his side. He won here in 1999 and 2000, and even from the outside, you could sense his confidence. 8 seconds Mäkinen clawed back over McRae over Terrier. Coming second was no option for him. Carlos Sainz was not out of the fight yet and not about to let McRae and Mäkinen disappear over the horizon. Sainz struggled to stay on the pace, so 5th fastest was all he could manage, dropping him half a minute behind Mäkinen. Armin Schwartz inherited 4th after Richard Burns dropped out of the rally overnight. He started day 2 determined to make the most of his good fortune. On Terrier, he was 3rd fastest. This is a brand new Skoda Octavia, and the change from the old version is as vast as the change in the conditions on the Monte. In the car with Schwartz, his co-driver, Manfred Hiemer.
Right 3, into left 3 to 4 short, into right 5, 50 left 3 to 4 open, 54, right 4 short minus, into left 2 to 3 short, nice.
Ford is the only three-car team left with a full complement for day 2. Subaru and Peugeot both out. Not far behind teammates McRae and Sainz, the Frenchman Delacour had less studs on his tyres, and it showed. He was fast up the mountain, but once he was on the snow, it slowed him down. He was 4th through Turrier and is 5th overall.
Gauche à fond vers là, 50 mètres, gauche 80. 200 mètres. 200 mètres. Gauche 120, bon long, pas posté. 200 mètres, gauche 120, bon long, pas posté. 50 mètres, c'est l'entrée léger, droite pleine corde, et gauche à fond bref. Puis droite à fond pleine corde, et gauche 125, rail de verglas, dans droite 120 mi-corde à fond.
But day 2 is all about the Sisteron stage, almost 37 kilometres up and over a mountain pass. The teams must decide on slicks or snow tyres or even a mixture.
It is from the start normally all right, and at the end it's all right, but there is very high mountain which we have to get up and down, and normally it's always plenty of snow, and that makes it very difficult.
The fans love Sisteron. On the hillside there's always a party, even though it's only breakfast time. First into the Lion's Den, the Flying Scotsman Colin McRae. His slick tyres were perfect at the bottom of the climb, but with snow up at the summit, he knew he had to push as hard as he dared down below. But then came the slippery stuff. Within metres, the Ford was losing grip and McRae was losing time. He could manage only 4th fastest time. 2 minutes later, and Tommy Mäkinen attacked the mountain. At each corner, an ice tyre, slower on the tarmac, but faster, he would hope, on the snow. And he was right. Mäkinen lost 16 seconds to McRae on the asphalt, but over 6 kilometres of snow, he was an incredible 42 seconds faster. That's 7 seconds for every kilometre. In just 2 stages, Mäkinen had got to within 2 seconds of McRae, whose lead was looking very vulnerable. With hardly a blink and tunnel vision, Mäkinen willed himself to within a hair's breadth of winning position. With McRae and Mäkinen centre stage, Sainz by now was playing a cameo role. He was 3rd on Sisteron, but more importantly, 3rd overall, was now looking safer for the Spaniard as he tiptoed through the snow. Hard-charging Armin Schwartz had his Skoda down on the bump stops, every lump shaved millimetres off the sump guard. But Schwartz was just happy to be still in the rally. A set of faulty scales was blamed for his car being found underweight on day 1. He was cleared, though, at the start of day 2. The German was 5th on Sisteron, and still 5th overall. Delacour was the only Ford to shine on Sisteron. Second fastest went the Frenchman, as he'd leapfrogged past Schwartz to 4th overall. All Ford had to do now was have Mäkinen drop out. A hat-trick was on the cards. Easier said than done, though. However fast he went, Delacour knew he wouldn't be allowed to pass his teammates, though.
I had a little problem with the gearbox. The gear change was not working very well. Then I was on mechanical system, and I lost maybe a few seconds.
Mitsubishi still had a full complement at the halfway point of the rally. Freddie Leutz was uncomfortable running on slick tyres, but he was still 6th fastest and now 7th overall, just 9 seconds off Alistair McRae in the Hyundai. Leutz has always been known as Fast Freddie. Flashes of inspiration helped justify the nickname, but only just. 2 years ago he was tipped as a future world champion. This year will be make or break for the erratic Belgian.
Probeer rechts nog niet met groepje 1. En bij hem zit, kom maar, bij hem zit ik rechts afvoor, om 50, links afvoor, 100, even rechts, links 110, aids plekken, en vanaf dan links 40. En bij hem 70, links 112, min proberen, die zijn weg, 100. Even links rechts, en trein links 100, om bocht 50, rechts 63.
Alistair McRae was a second slower than Leutz on Sisteron. The Scot had gone better on the drier stages. Like his brother, the runs up and down the mountain were better than the snowy section at the summit. But McRae's under orders to bring the Hyundai home in one piece, and hopefully with at least 1 point. From the air, it's clear just how fine the line is between success and failure. To one side, a sheer cliff, and to the other, a sheer drop. All eyes were on Tommy Mäkinen, though, as he came back into the service park at Dean.
You made up 20 seconds on Colin. Is that just down to tyre choice? You must be enjoying it out there.
Yeah, it was, well, last part I was really pushing hard, and the uphill, which was, our tyre was working much better for the uphill section, which was...
Letting Mäkinen so close and up the ante to keep Mäkinen at bay. But the Scot lost 7 seconds and the lead after he said he was slowed by spectators getting a little too close to the action. He vowed, though, to bounce back and retake the lead from Mäkinen later in the day. Mäkinen managed to open a 5-second lead from McRae on the stage. The Finn was second fastest on stage 9, was on course for his 3rd win in a row. Mitsubishi may have the oldest design of the top cars, but recent tweaks have kept the car competitive. But it's a year since the team's last win. Like McRae, Carlo also lost a lot of time on Klumac. 3rd place, though, was still safe. Behind him was his teammate Francois Delacour, a full minute adrift. Wherever he is in a rally, the El Matador, as they call him, is focused. With a penetrating glare, he watches the road ahead, and almost without a blink, as Lewis Moyer calls the notes like a machine gun. Another 3rd place for Armin Schwartz on stage 9, and the German was now just 6 seconds behind Delacour. The tension in the Skoda camp could be cut with a knife, and it was pretty bad in the car too, especially when Schwartz almost crashed out. In the mountains today, almost 250,000 fans, making the most of the snow. The pressure from Schwartz pushed Delacour into action. He set another fastest time on this, his favourite rally. If only by 100th of a second, though, from Mäkinen. Delacour, though, was lucky to get to the end of the stage. His engine faulted right after the time control, but he managed to keep it going and reach the next service area. To err on the side of safety, stage 10 was cancelled. There were just too many passionate rally fans lining the route. So after stage 10, Mäkinen now heads the field by 5 seconds from McRae. 3rd is Sainz, and then the duels between... McRae was in no mood for mucking about. He was up and down the mountain almost 7 seconds faster than his teammate, Carlos Sainz. Jeremy Mackinnon was 8.5 seconds slower than McRae, so lost the lead to the Scot. 3.5 seconds the gap after 2 days of duelling. Carlo Sainz's third place looks safer than ever. He's still just under a minute off the lead, but third would be a solid start for the year. In the other battles, Armin Schwartz edged back ahead of Francois Delacour after setting the fourth fastest stage time. Delacour suffered in the dark. He was 11 seconds behind Schwartz, second time through Sisteron. No such problems for Colin McRae. For the second night running, he was the leader of the Monte Carlo rally.
Why do you think that you're now...
Moment, the rally cars are like Grand Prix machines, and the next like a bobsleigh. At the top of Turini, 6 kilometres of snow and ice. That's where the Scot came unstuck again. This time, though, it wasn't his fault. The fly-by-wire throttle failing right at the apex.
Cable.
The car stranded, McRae and Grist bail out. Their only option to fit a cable from the throttle pedal to the engine. All the time, the clock is ticking. Finn has to tread lightly. Even for a 4-time champion, one patch of ice could end it all. The rally's already lost, but McRae and Grist hurry to get the car moving. But the throttle is still not right. Slowly, they live through the stage. Only to pull over again a few kilometers down the road. But the throttle was still not right. 10 minutes they've lost. Now Delacour passes his stricken teammate. Furious, McRae vents his anger. For the second year in a row, the Ford has let him down whilst heading for the podium on the Monte Carlo rally.
Colin, a bitter disappointment for you out of the rally.
Yeah, there's.
What happened?
Got a problem with the throttle, the electronics in the throttle and the motor that works the throttle.
The biggest battle was now for third place. In one corner, Armin Schwartz in the Skoda. At stake, Skoda's best finish ever. Schwartz was not about to pull punches. In the other corner, Francois Delacour, former winner of the rally, but out for the first time in the Ford Focus. On Turini, he looked stronger, and the times confirmed that. Delacour was third fastest and pulled out a narrow 1.8 second gap overall to keep Schwartz fourth. Delacour's speed can't have been harmed by losing the weight of the rear bumper. Stage 12 was jinxed for the McRae brothers. First there was Colin, and then Alistair was in trouble in the Hyundai. Fifth place was a virtual certainty. Then the Scot made a rare mistake. For a moment, McRae McRae thought he'd just punctured the tyre, but in fact he'd broken the wheel. Quick. Slicing neatly through all the drama, Freddie Loitz picking up his first stage win of the rally.